Dear God, thank you for the breath of life. Thank you for working with me in this waiting journey. My heart is begging for mercy. How much longer can I sit still and be hopeful? I ask you, O God, for patience when I am anxious, for wisdom when I do not understand, guidance when I am lost, courage when I am afraid, strength when I'm at my worst, and the confidence to do the right things. Though I can't seem to understand that life is in the waiting. Join Yewande Zaccheaus in the waiting room on Lapis LM Radio.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Waiting Room. Today I have with me another one of my wonderful sisters, the lovely Mrs. Ifeanyiwa Ighodalo, who is going to share her weight journey with us. Thank you so much, Ifeanyiwa, for being here today.
Thank you, Bestie. I hope I'm allowed to call you that.
Yes, of course you can. You can.
I'm so happy
my
to
sister,
be here.
my bestie. Yes. Oh, what a time we had those days in God's waiting room. It seems so long ago, but just talking about it again, I know brings all the memories. So just share with us in a few minutes. Just summarize your weight journey. Okay. What was it that you were waiting for and how?
Okay. Well, my own weight journey was waiting on the Lord for fruit of the womb. Because you know me so well, I almost feel as if we traveled that journey together.
We did.
So you know that I love children. I have always loved children for as long as I can remember. So it never even occurred to me that I would wait 1 second. I wanted 5 children. Maybe I would settle for 3. And I just knew that, God would do it for me. Now, I got married in April. Like you said, just thinking about this journey again, sort of refreshing my mind. So many things have popped up. So I got married in April 1990. The first year, I wasn't concerned. I was, we were young, we were carefree. Second year, I began to worry a little bit. But somewhere in the second year, I got pregnant and then I miscarried. Now, and then I miscarried. Now, I took that pregnancy as a sign from God that everything was okay. I should just relax and it would happen. Nevertheless, by the third year, I was back into my routine of 2 weeks up. I call it 2 weeks up and 2 weeks down. So I would spend 2 weeks. I'm telling you, 2 weeks up, 2 weeks with my legs up, hardly doing anything. And I was running a business at the time. And 2 weeks when I hit the ground running and try and catch up with everything I had sort of missed in the first 2 weeks. So this went on the third year, the fourth year, and then in the fifth year, in between, I had 2 laparoscopies done. The second laparoscopy was done around September 1995. So this was 5 years into my marriage. And I spent time I actually traveled to the States for this, and I spent time in the home of another woman who had waited, she had a son at the time. And she told me of her journey with IVF. Now, at that time, I had actually seriously started considering IVF. But by the time she told me,
what is it?
I just thought, you know what? My God, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So this was, I repeat, September 1995. And then, and I would do the laparoscopy. All they said was I had fibroids, but that beyond that, everything else was basically fine. No major problems. So I kept waiting. So, and I will go back and say that this IVF matter, my message regarding that is that he will never share his glory with anybody. So I know that is why I was where I was in 1995, in that particular home and listening to those stories. So come January 1996, I am very passionate about dates, birthdays, holidays. I attach a lot of meaning to certain dates. And for me, New Year's Day has always been a day when you start afresh. Yes. Whatever it is, just start afresh. And so when I prayed to God in January, I basically this time had a conversation with God. And I said to him, God, you have blessed me in so many ways, even in ways I didn't realize I was blessed. I had taken for granted. But when I talking to people, I found that I was actually very, very blessed. And so I said to him that I know it is not my portion not to have a child. So, Father, Lord, I surrender everything to you. If you decide that I won't, fine by me, but I know you won't decide. And this was January. And I can tell you for sure, my last period came on February 19th, because that's my husband's sister's birthday. That's the last time I saw that particular period. And get this, it only struck me 2 minutes ago, April 1996. I got married in April of 1990, and I got my pregnancy result, positive result, in April of 1996. 6 years after. Exactly 6 years after. The rest is in book one,
of
God's waiting room.
Yes.
But at the end, just to complete the story, I just thought about it. So God's blessings, this is what I want to say. God's blessing made perfect in Omwehi Ifeyiwa Oluwabo Adurawa Igodalo. And obviously all her names have meanings. Ifeyiwa, for those who don't know, means there's nothing like a child. Oluwabo Adurawa, God has answered her prayers. And like I tell most people, that she is one child, but she's like 10 children. And that is what
mean? You haven't told us the meaning of
Omehi is the guiding light of all of us. So she's like a beacon unto us from God.
Amazing.
And to finally end that story, as soon as I had Omehi, within a month or two, people started asking me, won't you try for another one? Won't you try for another one? And my answer to them is, even though in my heart of hearts I knew God would bless me, I didn't know if and when and how I would get this one. So please, if God wants to give me another one, I will have another one.
Amen.
And that's where we left it. Yes.
Beautiful. Now, one thing you said, and that name she has is quite an unusual name, but it's such a beautiful name. Oluwagbo Adrawa. The Lord has answered our prayers. You said something in your testimony that you had all your life you had been lucky.
Yes.
But that now you realize you were not lucky, but you were blessed.
Yes.
So what is the difference between being lucky and being blessed? I just want I want our listeners and the viewers to just understand that.
Okay. People say good luck.
Yes.
In fact, this morning I was sending you a message and I had typed in good luck, and I was yesterday and I went back and I took it out and I wrote God bless.
God bless.
So that is basically the difference.
Is the difference.
Because I was born a Catholic, I still, hold on to some of my Catholicism.
Yes.
But basically, in starting my closer walk with God, I found that it is God really.
Yes.
So it's not so much luck as God's favor, God's grace, God's mercy, God's blessings. One of the things I will say is, as a family, the Igodalos, my parents-in-law have always lived in Ibadan until they are of blessed memory now. And the Igodalo family has gone back and forth on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. We cannot count how many times. It is God that has protected us. Yes. It's not a question of luck. So for me, that's just the basic difference.
I thought that was beautiful, and I just wanted to bring it out. You also talk a lot about the support of family and friends, during the time of waiting. How important is that? So that people who are in the waiting room can really know that how important it is to have the support, and what kind of support did people give you, your family and your friends?
Okay. If you say how important is it, I would say it's priceless.
Priceless.
I mean, there's nothing. I don't think I would even be here today without that support. Now, I must say, I mentioned family and friends, yes, but please let me tell you, the greatest support I got was from my husband.
Fantastic.
He never for one day made me feel less.
Yes.
Not one day. When I realized I was losing the first pregnancy and tears were, sort of flowing, he wasn't moved. And the mistake some of us women make is we think that this journey is ours alone. It is us and our husbands.
Yes.
And because we've been hearing so much about it now, men are meant to be strong, men are meant to be stoic. They don't express their feelings and emotions the way we do. But that doesn't mean that they don't feel. So he was very strong, he was very supportive. After we even had this Omwe 10 children in one, when I started thinking about it and mentioning all sorts of other things, he said to me that he's very happy with one child. So you see, for me, my mind was at peace once I know that this is what, and he meant it. I thought initially he was just trying to make me feel good. So for the other support, I had physical support, people coming around me, emotional and spiritual, sharing. The kind of support I had is I then started spending time fellowshipping with other women,
Yes.
hearing their stories. So that also emphasizes the fact that we are not in this alone. And as long as you know, of course, the greatest support will be from God. And once you know you're not in this alone, when you even hear some other people's stories, I did 6 years, some did 20 years, some did. I know a friend who finally had her first child at 50 something. I was 36. So once you know.
That's it. The importance of the community is so, the community that are with you during the time of wait. And you've said something that's really important about husbands. Because we find that when I look at the testimonies as a whole in the God's Waiting Room books, where husbands have been a support to their wives, it always comes through. It comes through. Even if it does not come through as a natural pregnancy, even if it's adoption or something.
Whatever the case.
It is priceless.
You can tell, yes,
it is
they are
priceless.
together.
So we speak to all the men out there that please listen, support your wives. And for wives, if you think that you need to carry it on your own, no. There are two people in a marriage. So please reach out to your husbands and make sure that you work together for God to bless you.
And one other thing I will say is that, yes, reach out to your husbands. But the funniest thing, the way I have been able to reach my husband the most, through God on my knees.
Yes.
So I have to drop that there.
That is so important.
It is God that has actually now we've gone around full circle, and God has sort of just brought us together, and we're like this now.
Praise God.
So please, God first.
God first in all things. So, you said something which I always, I think is so important, that after that initial miscarriage, you decided that you were not even discouraged, because for you took it as a sign that, well, at least I can get pregnant. So I know that there is no problem in that area. But then you also said something, that you just decided to leave everything to God, and you concentrated your energies into your business and other activities. I think that is so important for a lot of women to listen to. So please just tell us about that experience and how it made you feel. Just taking that decision that, look, let me focus on all the other things God has done for me. And how did it help you through the wait?
Okay, so like I said, like I used to say, I was born lucky, but I was born blessed, blessed beyond measure. So once I'd had this agreement, as it were, as my dear friend Obioma, everybody knows she's one of my closest friends. If there's time, I can mention her own covenant with God as well, on my behalf. But at this particular point in time, I wasn't aware of the covenant. She told me this after Omehi was born. So once I had this agreement with God, I basically, and I'd like to thank you. I'm going to take a few seconds and thank you, Bestie. This is Z to the rest of the world, but my Bestie, for this opportunity, for putting this down in the book, these stories down in the book. Because even just going back to read my story, it has brought so many emotions. So I'm going to try and hold it in check. And in preparing, just thinking about what I was going to say, a few things dropped in my spirit. One of my favorite hymns is I Surrender All. I absolutely love it. So what I did was I just surrendered all. Now, because I'm the first child, I have always run a business. I'm one of those women who is usually in control of my environment, my people, and all of that. So
and your life generally,
and my life. In fact,
you just planned your life.
That is it. But God planned it differently.
Exactly.
So what? So in surrendering to God, I needed to cede control of that part of my life to Him. And I repeat, my people: January, February, April. So within the time, I completely and totally ceded my life and everything else to do with it to God. It happened.
That's so
I will
important.
speak about, so what I did was, like I said, I counted my blessings. I looked at my blessings, and when I was thinking about that, I thought about this passage, Matthew 25:14-30, the parable of the talents. I said, if God has given, and that was a conversation I had with him, if God has given me all of this, there shouldn't be anything else that I need. We want sometimes, but what I need that He will not give to me. And again, He did. So what did that do for my state of mind? Peace.
Beautiful.
Peace. Yes. Peace that passes all understanding. I just got on with my life. I mean, I didn't know it would happen. In fact, I didn't even notice. It was in April that I thought, what happened to March and the period?
That's what
and
happens.
then I went for the test.
That's what I wanted to bring up, because it's so important. Because for many waiting women, they think, oh, let me put my life on hold. You're dwelling just on this. This God hasn't done this for me. I'm so miserable. Everybody's getting pregnant. Oh. Yes, but until you get to that stage where you say, you know what, Lord, take control. And I know for people like me and you, because as you know, I am just like you in terms of controlling my life, controlling everybody around me. But God just wanted to show that, you know what?
Yes.
I am the one in control.
Exactly.
And that, you find is part of the purpose in the wait.
Yes.
So, but what I love that you said is that having ceded control, you just got on with your life, doing the other things God had called you to do, and you had peace. And you see, it is in that place of peace that the miracle can come. Yes. Because when you are no longer, the Bible says anxiety in the heart of man causes depression. When you are no longer anxious, you are no longer agitating, you are no longer worried, you are no longer in the place of, oh my God, oh me. You are just at peace. God,
and I just got on with it.
That's it. And I think that's really, really important. Yes. It's important. Okay, you say as well, of course, we know that for every single one of us, a time of challenge will always make you grow spiritually. You said in your testimony that, that time of waiting made you grow spiritually. Can you just share a little bit about that? So what happened? How did you grow spiritually? What did you begin to
one
do?
of the things that started was like I said, I was born a Catholic. And for many years, even in my marriage, I would go to the Catholic Church, and I still do from time to time.
Yes.
But I started fellowshipping. That was one of the things that helped. And in sharing, we found that there were many. It just so happened that there were other women in the fellowship who were also waiting. And in maybe going a little deeper into the word, for me, my favorite psalm has always been Psalm 23. That's the only psalm I know of heart or of head. And that first verse, I shall not. I started with the I shalt. So I shall not want.
Yeah.
So I shall not want. So I held on to that.
Yes.
I had, if you go through the psalm, you have, for you are with me. So I knew, in spite of everything else, I knew that God was with me. So with that, the more you sort of hold on to Him, the more you grow. That's my own experience. That's my own experience.
Yes. That's it.
My cup runneth over, and it had. So I didn't see why it would stop running over. And it continued till today. So we thank God for that. And then also I have another verse that I sort of got attached to a bit, was Luke 1:37, which says, for with God nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible, yes.
And then finally, which is where I am today, be still and know that I am God. On my WhatsApp status, yes, I have let go and let God. Yes. And it's been like that for God knows, I don't know how many years it's been up there. Just let go and let God.
That's it. So that's it. You see, when you go through challenges, you cling on to the Lord and you come to know Him. And the more you know Him, and you can only know Him by fellowshipping. How have we become where we are today as friends and sisters? Only because we spend time together. So it's exactly in the same way that you get to know God, by spending time with Him. How do you spend time with Him? By reading the Word, by taking out some words, just as you have some scripture, and holding it as His personal message to you. And when you see it come to life, sometimes you are just in awe of like, little me in this little, look at all the billions of people in the world, and yet you remember me to such detail.
Yes, because as I say to my husband often, as I walk in life, I literally see God's miracles happening.
Yes.
That is how in tune I am with it. And now I'm happy you said that also in fellowship. One of the things that helped a lot of friends and sisters would actually send me some Bible passages to read. That also helped a lot. Yes. That helped a lot.
There's beauty in fellowship. So now talking about fellowship, let's share about Obioma and her covenant with you, because I think that's so special.
So Obioma,
I say Obioma.
No, I wasn't correcting you. I'm just even remembering her. So Obioma, now I married a few years, I think 2 years before her. So 2 years later, I hadn't had a child, and then she got married, and she was also in God's waiting room. Now the most amazing thing I found, and she said, I think she actually told me this on her 40th birthday. So I can't remember how old Omehi would have been by the time she was 40. She shared with me that at the time she was also waiting, she talks to God. She's one of those people that says, and I said to God, and God said. So she said to God, and God said, and she told God that, you see, yes, I know there's a child you have kept waiting for me. But you know what? This my sister, whom I love dearly, who is in the queue, as it were, before me. Please, that child, just take that my child and bless her with that child. And I think that is one of the most selfless things I'm telling you anyone can do. And just bless her with that child, and then my own can come. So she told me this, and you know, the most amazing thing about Omehi, if you look at Omehi, the only thing she doesn't have is Obiama's height. Obiama has what we call high waist. Omehi has high waist. She has the shape of her legs. Even, you know, I won't even say what it is. She has her demeanor. She has her pleasantness, her love of life and everything. And Obioma means good heart. And I tease Obioma that she has a big heart and a good heart. And Omehi is also blessed in that way. So, you know, sometimes when we sit and we really think about it, it's as if God really answered her to the letter.
I just handed her over to you.
So
no wonder she's Omehi's godmother.
Exactly. That was her covenant with God, and God did not, as always, God didn't disappoint us.
Because you need friends. You need friends who really support you and something like this. People who will pray with you, who will root for you, and just assure you that everything is going to be all right. And her own quiver is quite full right now.
As we know.
We thank God. So now, as a mature Christian, you know, all of us, we mature from age, from experience, from our walk with God. Knowing now all you know about God, is there anything you would advise the younger Ifeanyiwa? What is there anything you would say
your younger self?
To your younger self?
Yes.
Now, given what you know, as in how she should have handled that time. Is there any advice you would say, okay, Ifeanyiwa, this is really what you should have done?
Okay, so let me start by saying that this mature Christian is still, in our own mind, very immature.
Exactly.
And still growing.
All of us, until the day he calls us, we will still be babes in him.
So we're all still growing in all sorts of ways. So, well, some of the things, when I sit down to think about my growth, I would say that we've always known God. Maybe from when we were little, our parents teach us about God. But the more I grow, the more I just know that God is God. Simple. God is God. Okay? My faith has actually grown a lot during this journey. My faith has grown a lot. So, funny enough, we were at a fellowship yesterday, and someone shared Romans 9:15. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will give compassion on whomever I will give compassion. So think that sort of resonated for me, because it's not so much about what I would do differently, though I will tell you. But with that, I saw that it's not so much what we do.
It's not what we do.
It is just God's
mercy
and God is God.
Yes.
So as for what I would have done differently, I would have ceded control earlier. But even having done that, it may not have changed anything. God would still have done it in his own time.
That's
okay. So there's that.
But at least you would have been at peace much earlier.
By God's grace. Yes, if I'd ceded it fully the way I did, I would have been at peace much earlier. And then I would share more. I would actually, as far as the journey in God's waiting room, all I would say is I would have ceded the control much earlier. I would have gone on my knees much earlier to God to bring my husband and I closer on the journey. Because even though he was extremely supportive, but there are areas where we could have traveled the journey together earlier. Exactly. Because the truth of the matter is, as part of that seeding, God used someone to touch both of us, and he joined me in the journey. And like I said, the rest is history. The rest is in the book.
Exactly.
So I would also, on my pre and post my journey, I would share more. So which is why, like I said again, I'm not plugging. I'm very proud of this book and everything you've done. So the sharing, it's there for us. We can read other women's stories and be encouraged.
So I like that. So you would have, that's what you would have told your younger self, cede control and be at peace earlier. But then what would be, give us a word of advice for people who are now in the waiting room. I mean, we're now in our 60s, so we don't have those kind of, it's our children now. People who are in their late 20s. What would your advice be to them? How should they handle this time?
Okay, like I said earlier, God first.
Yes, absolutely.
In everything you do, just put God first. There is nothing that God cannot do. Okay? So hold on to your faith. Because at the end of the day, I strongly believe that that's what led me.
That's what takes everybody through.
Because I remember when I may have mentioned it in the book, when after the miscarriage, the first pregnancy, I had part of the reason I was at peace after the miscarriage was that the first time I had gotten a positive pregnancy test in God knows in all my life. So when people came to commiserate at the loss, I was busy praising God
that at least
for the sign that yes, I can do it. So hold God first. Do not give up.
Absolutely.
Do not give up. Do not. So I've told you about a friend of ours who was over 50. So please do not give up. Everyone's story is different. I think I've heard you talk a little bit about it. There's the journey of adoption, there's the journey of surrogacy, there's the journey of, whatever it is. Everyone's story is different. If God says it will be, it will be. And in his own time, in his own way. So don't give up, hold on to God. Share. Join support groups, join fellowships. Because the more you hear, other people's stories, the more you can sort of, it's like a balm. You're encouraged, your hearts, you tend to be, at least there's hope. You know that there is hope, and you're not in this alone. And then finally, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God.
Amazing. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Ifeanyiwa. I know that people listening and watching us today would have learned so much, about the peace that comes from really just letting go and letting God work. And, and don't give up. Don't ever give up. Because, she said it, that for with God, nothing is impossible. It's just that it may not be our way. It may not be our time. But God will deliver on what he has promised. As Ifeanyiwa has said, she is very proudly in book 1. And even more importantly, and our movie, The Wait, if it was a company, DO2 Designs supplied the furniture. So when you're watching The Wait, look out for DO2 in all the beautiful sets that we have. And as we've said, The Wait movie will be in the cinemas from the 30th of April.
Can't wait.
Please,
can't wait for the wait.
Because the wait is worth the wait. Those are all our hashtags. Or what they call it. And do please follow us on God's Waiting Room Books. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time with my dearest bestie. Thank you so much for sharing, Ifeanyiwa. And I know that there's more to come.
Thank you. Like I said, my last word is we are really so proud of you on this journey and for all the things you're doing to sort of encourage women in so many ways. Because I do know that the movie is not just about God's waiting room. It's about waiting, whatever it is you're waiting for.
Whether for work or for a life partner. So we can reach more people.
Thank you. God bless you too.
Amen. So at this time, we're going to listen to Ifeanyiwa's favorite hymn, I Surrender All.
All to Jesus, I surrender. All to thee I freely give. I will ever love and trust